It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
And welcome to the realm of geekdom. This is nerd breaking news. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss an episode. Today, we're going to be talking about the new Spider Man animated series that's coming out at Disney Plus, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider Man. Let's get those first reactions. Let's go and start with the kid.
I thought aesthetically it looks cool. The idea that he's in high school, we're going back to that again. That's cool, as opposed to Tom Holland, who's like 40 and still in high school. Um, uh, this feels a little different, and I have to put a context into this. Spidey's been on since the 60s in terms of not only the comic book, but in terms of the cartoon. It's been over 50 years of Spider-Man cartoon lore. In the 60s, it was Spidey. Um, in the 80s, it was Spider-Man, Iceman, and I forgot the other girl, Firestar. In the 80s, in the 90s, it was the show that we grew up with, the Spider-Man 1994 show. And then MTV did one back in the day, and then it then went off the rails with how many Spider-Man shows it's been on. So this feels cool because it's kind of like a throwback to comic book ish with the how it looks aesthetically and all that stuff. So I thought it was cool, but there's a comma, and then the comma is I just think that I'm worried about the story, right? I'm worried about like okay, he's in high school, but how many more times have we done this? How is this going to be different? How is this going to differentiate with the other 45, 50 years of comic book of cartoon lore, not even comic book lore, cartoon. He's Marvel's most famous character. Kids love him, adults love him. He rarely has. I would have done Miles Morales now, then, and I know it sounds a little redundant because into the Spider-Verse and all that stuff, but I would have done Miles Morales more than Peter here, um, because I think you could do more with an animated story in terms of like the series than the movie. The movie we just had to everything was going 100 miles an hour, even though that's the greatest Spider-Man movie ever, Into the Spider-Verse. Um, but I feel like the villains, I don't know. Again, I just feel like let's see where this goes. Let's be a little bit cautiously. I'm cautiously optimistic. I like Spider-Man. I've always liked Spider-Man. Let's see where this goes. Let's see where the maybe 3 episodes in. I'm just worried. There's. I want to give it like, yeah, I'm really behind this 100%, but I can't be. Um. So yeah, let's just wait.
I kind of feel the same way, but I'm a little bit more optimistic than you are. I love the animation. I love this whole comic thing. It's completely different from what we've seen before. And what I really like about this is that it kind of feels like it's kind of like a what if episode where you have the Spider-Man and there's a scene where he does the whole car thing, but instead of Tony Stark picking him up, it's Osborn, Norman Osborn. And that changes his trajectory somehow. And that kind of intrigues me. It catches my eye. He even has the white and black suit instead. That was really fun. I think it was called the foundation or something like that,
Future
which was when he was
Foundations.
teaming up with like, yeah, when he was teaming up with the Fantastic Four. So I'm intrigued about what they're gonna do. Maybe this is a way for them to introduce the Fantastic Four back in, since we have that film coming out in July. Uh, this will be a nice little segue to kind of bring it in and kind of introduce those characters again to the general populace. So I'm excited about it. I'm a little optimistic because I have a little bit more confidence on what Marvel does, especially in the animation section of it.
But DK, just to confirm, I also think this is not canon. This is not MCU Spidey.
It's
So they
not.
could be. So they could be a little bit. So when
Oh,
you
it's
say
not.
that, yeah. So when you say that, I think there could be a little bit more leeway with certain characters. For example, we saw the race swap with the Osborns. Um, I think that's fine. That's who really cares about that. As long as the character is the character, it shouldn't matter. But I think
Hmm.
to your point, I think that because I don't think it's connected to the MCU per se, they could go left side, they could go left field.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And that's exciting. It's exciting because it's not your typical, you know what, I'm here to fight the Green Goblin. I'm here to fight Venom. I'm here to fight, insert any of the top five Spider-Man villains in there. Instead, we actually see him team up with Norman Osborn, which definitely changes that trajectory of his character overall. And I want to know what happens. I think that's going to be interesting. Like how is he going to lean? Is he going to be more like, you know, down the middle, kind of like you have Punisher just messing around things, or he could potentially become a villain or something. I don't know. I think that this is interesting on what they're doing over here. I like the comic book style as well. So I'm very interested when the show comes out in January. What is it? January 29th. So
29th, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I think that this is very, very exciting, especially for us Spider-Man fans. Eagle, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was confused a little bit because I think that we have gotten a lot of Spider-Man lately. Like you have the Marvel movies, and then you had the Sony Into the Spider-Verse, which was amazing. So seeing this come out, animated version, obviously it's not Miles Morales as Peter. Going back to Peter, probably they thought that, hey, listen, man, we got to go back to Peter because he's the main one. He's the reason why you all fell in love with Spider-Man. Um, and then in regards to what I mean, the trailer looked fun. It looked interesting. It looked like you guys said that there's more freedom creatively in terms of what you can do. I think that freedom was they actually felt they could do this because of the success of Into the Spider Verse, right? But I think that there's going to be a main difference, at least what I can see from the trailer. And what I mean is this: even though the Miles Morales sequel, whatever, it was also animated. The reason why it was so successful it was because it was a film, right? So it had like a real story behind it. This one, I don't know, where am I looking? Am I looking like the animated Spider-Man of the '90s, where yes, this was a story, but it wasn't really taken that serious like Miles Morales was? I don't know. I think that that's where they're leaning into, and that's why probably the creativity will just basically spark, and they'll have a lot of moments that we're probably not expecting on some characters, or something will happen that it was not expected. Just because of that creativity, that they want to do something so different than Miles Morales, the movie, the plot, and all of that. Like, hey, they took it seriously. It was actually like made for films. This is more like a TV show type of thing, and we're gonna base it more on the what do you the comics. So maybe you have more freedom. That excites me as well. I think it's gonna be fun. And then again, you can't go wrong with Spider-Man. Spider-Man, I think, alongside with Captain America and Superman, although Superman has an extension because Snyder literally made him a killer. Those two characters, they have, I think, the main thing with them is that they have such a high morale, and they're kind of unbreakable, right? They go through this stage where they're like, hey, listen, man, I've gotten to this point where I have this set of morals, and I'm always going to do the right thing. Okay, you have it with Peter Parker, Spider-Man. um, Captain American is the same thing. Is he's the standard of the morale, and when to do the right thing, which is always. And then also Superman in a way. So you can't go wrong with Spidey. um, but yeah, I'm excited, and it comes out on January 29th, which is the day of my birthday. So yeah, that's uh, a good day to put it out. So yeah, I'm excited.
Professor, what's your take?
All right. So originally, this show was supposed to be called Spider Man Freshman Year because the point of it was, at least we were all told, to tell more of the origin story of the Tom Holland Spider Man. Because if you go in the movies, they never actually told you what his early high school years were like. You never saw them. So you never really saw like what happened, like when he got bit by the spider. You never saw what happened before he met Tony Stark. Not a clue. That's interesting. But what ended up happening is Marvel being Marvel, they got all these other wonderful ideas, and they're like, we can't make it canon. Let's make it something else. And now you have something that's a lot, but it feels like the same Spider-Man shows that I've already seen with less character and more people of color, which is okay, but ultimately, again, where's the hook? Why should I watch it? Like what's in there? I feel like they're just saying it's a Spider-Man show, but they're not giving you anything to really even look forward to. For the Black community, the big sale has been Coleman Domingo, the guy from Fear the Walking Dead, being Norman Osborn. People love that. Like that's awesome. They're also using they're also using the same voice actor from What If for Peter Parker. They've got the Stephen Strange actor coming back to do the voice, and they have Charlie Cox as Daredevil here too. So that's cool. And that reminds you of What If. But at the same time, I just watched What If. It was terrible. It was terrible. It was objectively terrible. It was a good idea that progressively got worse because they lost focus. And that's what concerns me about Marvel products when they don't show you the purpose up front. What I've learned looking at their products carefully is if they don't show you the purpose and the point of the story up front, it's usually because there isn't one. So when you go in hoping that, oh, we're going to see the conflict later, you're probably not. And by the end of the series, you're going to be like, why did I waste my time? And that's what concerns me here because I just had a What If experience and it was not satisfying. They did the same thing with Secret Invasion where you're like, why am I watching this? And it was not satisfying. And I feel the same energy here. And that's what kind of worries me a bit. That's my 10 cents.
I want to add there a little bit for the professor said. So they're also including. You mentioned Charlie Cox is coming back for his role at voicing Daredevil. They're the Kingpin actor is also coming back to voice his role. That actually might confuse people who watch the MCU. I'm just saying it might.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
One of the I want to make a per Wikipedia. One of the things it says here that the series puts an emphasis on neighborhood from the title by featuring some of the supporting characters in prominent roles. And when you look at the cast, it's Peter, who's 15. Norman Osborn, you mentioned Domingo, who's playing him. He's going to be his mentor and man in the chair, which is a unique twist. That alone could be somewhat of a hook to get you in. And then you have Lonnie Lincoln, who's the captain of the football team.
Yeah.
Nico Moroyu, who's a classmate. You have Harry Osborn, and then Otto Octavius. And so just reading that off and the emphasis they put on neighborhood, they're obviously going a different approach. This is not, from what you said, everybody else saying, I don't think they're going the traditional, hey, this is Spidey, and he's going to do his thing, and he's going to have, because the Lizard is one of his mentors in the comics on several incarnations. Here they're doing the Norman, what Norman has as well, but not to this degree. And I think what they're doing is, and when you look at the picture here, right, like it looks like that's Flash. The one in the green, that's Harry, and it looks like, yeah, it's Peter and it's Spidey, but this is also his neighborhood, his people, and I think they're going to put more emphasis on what he's doing with his relationship as it pertains to that neighborhood. That it might be different than other incarnations of Spider-Man.
Yeah, I could see that. That's interesting that they're going to be using Doc Ock in this. I want to see what kind of role they're going to have for him in this. Whether, as a freshman, I don't think they'll put him as a villain. Maybe as a mentor of itself, or maybe he's the one that provides the suit. I think there was like some kind of like video game that did something along those lines, if I recall correctly. So that I think it's going to be interesting. So we'll see how it goes. Any final thoughts from anyone regarding the trailer we saw for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man?
I thought it was okay. The Superman trailer was better.
All right then.
One final thing, I just think it's a little bit it's a little bit weird that the trailer came out, I don't know, a week ago, whatever, recently, and the show starts on the 29th, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just the timeline gets me a little bit going like, because usually
there.
Because usually, and I don't, we all like Spidey, so we don't want it to fail. But usually, I don't know, 5 months, 6 months in, you're like, oh man, I can't wait to watch this. This is gonna be amazing. Oh, this is probably the only trailer we're gonna get since it's just 3 weeks away. So that is a little like.
I feel like what it is they started something, they went a different direction. They went, well, we're in too deep, and they finished it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's what I sense.
Let's hope for the best, but I agree with that because again, just the timeline, it's a little off. Because marketing, think about it. Think of the marketing. We have 3 weeks left for this show, and you're like, wait, what? We're getting a trailer now?
All right. Yeah, I could see that. I completely understand the point. Oh yeah. So I was saying it was the Marvel Spider-Man game. Peter Parker actually works for Otto Octavius, and Otto Octavius ends up being kind of like his technician and ends up designing the Spider-Man suit.
That's cool.
And it is I think that's pretty cool. So we'll see how they go. The series premieres January 29th.
It's dangerous to go alone.
We're going to be
Take
checking it out for sure. We'll definitely be able to have some reaction to it after we watch a few episodes for you guys. But till then, thank you for tuning in. Whether you're a Jedi, time traveler, or you're part of the Spider-Man universe, keep your fandom alive and your warp drive engaged. Until next time, fellow nerds, this is Nerd Breaking.